So welcome, Ellen. And Ellen Ringer is our guest today. She's the founder of e-Trilogy. It's quite an undertaking. Been working with this a couple of years now. And what the opportunity here for us today is to hear how a group of people, including myself, was working to create an integrated K-16 system. I'll let Ellen introduce herself. And during the course of this presentation, we'll learn how all these elements are coming together. So welcome, Ellen. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. I really appreciate the opportunity. So my name is Ellen Ringer. I've been an educator primarily in K-12 for 25 years. However, I have been an adjunct professor a number of times. Really enjoyed that process as well. In the last 8 years of my K-12 experience, I was an administrator and a consultant at the California Department of Education. So it afforded me an opportunity to see how our education system, both at the college level and then at the K-12 level, really integrated or didn't integrate. And so based on a number of experiences and times that I had with just lots of conversations nationally and within our state of California, it occurred to me that there was somewhat of a lack of integration. And so what happened is that when I retired about a year and a half ago, I thought about all of the information and knowledge and experiences that I was able to enjoy and just decided, you know what, let's go ahead and take a look at integrating a system where we put K-12 together, hire it together, and then connect it with another student services support. So that's what we did. We created Renew Virtual Academies, which is a charter school. It's a K-12 charter school. We created F.J. Ringer Online University, which we'll be talking a little more in depth about. And then also our Graduate Ready Center, which is a professional development and student support services center. All of them are focused on online education. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Our theme is where graduation is the only option, because we really believe that that's true. And during the course of this presentation, you may hear my dog. She's a rescue dachshund, and so she needs to feel safe. And so if you hear a few barks, that's what that's all about. So what I'd like to do is really talk to you about education pipeline to success. We know that students, particularly those who are most at risk of not graduating from high school, really need a support system that's going to help them and assist them in really being successful in their life choices. And so that's one of the primary reasons that we decided to begin this project. Renew Virtual Academies, we're a virtual K-12 charter school. We're focusing on supporting all students, especially those students who are most at risk of dropping out of school. And from all of the research that we know about students who have dropped out of school, we know that there are particular areas that we really need to target in order for them to be successful and to bring them back on track. We do a lot of that through personalized learning plans, our academic programs, and really focusing on relevance. So targeting career pathways education and providing them with opportunities to have leadership. Our Graduate Ready Center, as I mentioned, is a professional learning and support services center. We provide professional development to districts and schools, teachers and administrators, all of those who would have decisions, ability to make decisions about how the kinds of policies that are put in place regarding dropout prevention. We also target transition plans because, as we know, those are some of the most difficult times for students, particularly those who are at risk when you transition from one school level to the next, from that 8th to 9th grade period of time, and also then when you graduate from high school and go into post-secondary, whatever that option is. We're also taking a look at F.J. Ringer Online University, providing students with liberal studies and 2-year certificated programs focused on career technical education, the 16 career sectors that we're targeting. Now, when you take a look at something like this individually, there's a lot of states that have these different organizations individually, but when you integrate this as a K-16 system and every decision that you're making based on design elements and all of those factors, we're going to take a look at that. It really becomes more of an approach of looking at what is going to be best and right for the student from the day they enter into school until the day that they leave and graduate from high school and from college, and or with their career choice. So that's the target and the focus of why these are integrated.
Before we move on,
So
Ellen, before you move on, I just want to make sure people know that I am working particularly with the college division, F.J. Ringer, and like you to explain the importance of what that means to you, that name, as well as we're awful glad your dog's with us, and hopefully we'll feel comforted through the whole thing. So you can tell Ellen's a caring person. She even got her rescue dog with her as we talk.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, thank you. Well, the significance of F.J. Ringer, the university is named after my father. He was a longtime educator and really targeted students who were most at risk. Back at that time, they were called remedial students. So he helped them in reading and writing. And so because of that, this is a tribute to my dad, who really had a very strong heart for students in need that way. So
thank you.
It's a nice tribute. So thank you for asking.
As a pondering point for us, we think of ours with the students in our particular course here, the graduate course we're working with. As we listen to Ellen, think about how transitions between the K-12 students into college is made different because of online learning. So just kind of keep that in your mind as Ellen talks. Thank you, Ellen. I'll let you go forward now.
Sure, of course. So when we take a look at e-Trilogy, our overall mission is to provide students with a support system and a pipeline, as I've mentioned, that ensures that they graduate from high school with readiness skills and having the greatest probability of completing their post-secondary option and succeeding in their life pursuits. That post-secondary option could be a 2-year program, 4-year program, could be military service. Whatever it is, our real focus and target is to really support them in creating their career plans, and as early as really doing career exploration, and that's a major emphasis that we do, really starting in the 6th grade. We're focusing on transition plans and a number of areas. A 10-year plan, for example, is something that we're instituting. And you might say, well, why have a 10-year plan? Because the goal of education is not to just graduate from high school. The goal is to be able to be prepared, ready, to be able to have your life pursuit met, and whatever that is, that kind of thinking needs to begin as early as possible, and students need to recognize that they're in control, they're responsible for that. We will support and assist and provide as much as we possibly can, but it really is a partnership in order to get students to where they want to be. So that's the primary mission of what it is that we're doing. And we have some belief systems here. So we do believe that an integrated approach to K-16 education is the best way to ensure that students do graduate fully prepared for their future career and college plans. We really believe in the practical application of research. So what you'll hear periodically is that, well, the research says this, and this is how we're applying it. We really believe in that. One of the from my perspective, one of the primary purposes of research is to be able to apply it in a very practical way, and so that's one of the areas that we do focus on. The team of professionals that have been assembled with e-Trilogy, just an amazing group of people, and we all have this same belief system of focusing on research as we move forward. We do believe in supporting our instructional staff with that ongoing sustainable professional learning to target student success. We know that the research says that the more professional learning that teachers have, the more successful they're going to be as instructors, which has a direct impact on student success. And so what we do is every Friday we have a full day of professional learning. I'm going to talk a lot about that here in just a few moments. And then we also believe in providing our students with personalized learning by using a synchronous and asynchronous dynamic approach to online learning. And so one of the things that Dr. Holland just talked about was this idea of online learning, and how does that impact the transition as you move forward into all of your courses from one class to the next, and then from one school level to the next. And so the idea of synchronous and asynchronous approach to online learning is really a critical component of our particular design. I'm going to talk a little bit about that here in just a few moments. And this is where we're going to talk about all those things I mentioned. E-Trilogy really is about a common approach to K-16 schooling. And so, as you can see from this graphic, we have common professional learning communities. So what I mean by that is that our college instructors at FJR and our K-12 instructors at our Renew Virtual Academy, or we call it RVA, they will meet on Fridays to have some common ways of looking at student assessment, taking a look at, so those incoming freshmen at FJR will be very well understood by the instructors that will be providing instruction for them as freshmen, as well as our K-12 instructors will know what is expected at FJR. So this common idea, this isn't something that's done typically, but it's going to happen every Friday. So we'll be looking at assessment, we'll be looking at common pedagogy, we'll be taking a look at what's happening in the world of research at that moment that's going to be successful for our students. It's just going to add to one more thing that we need to know. We're going to be taking a look at common assessment, so the forms of assessment that we'll be utilizing at both schooling levels will be common. For example, we're going to have discussion-based, we'll have project-based, we'll have real-world type applications. So the whole point of assessment and evaluation is to really provide the opportunity for a student to share their knowledge, to explain what it is that they know about a given content area or a subject. And so however the student can do that, we think that's the right way to go about doing that. We're looking at our common student support services, so that's where Graduate Ready Center, or GRC, comes into place. So those kinds of support services that the student will need in the K-12 level will follow them right into FJR. And so those services could be social work, they could be how do I do for childcare, et cetera, all those kinds of very important counseling, mentoring, a number of other student support services. We have common engagement strategies. We know from our research on students who have dropped out of school already that engagement is a critical component. You know, at the K-12 level, just about 23 to 25% of our students nationwide drop out of school. And if you're a student of color, it can be up to 50%. That's a tragedy. There are some things that are being put into place right now. America's Promise, for example, is an organization that is really targeting this whole area. We are making some headway there, but there's still a lot of difficulties there. And it's even a higher level of dropout when you look at a university. So we think that one of the reasons that happens at the university level is because students have not focused on their planning as to what it is that they want to do. You get to college, you think, I might consider this, I might do that, let me think, and then life happens and those kinds of goals fall to the wayside because there hasn't been a strong strategic plan in place in order to be able to make that success happen. That's why we are focusing on career planning at a very early age. We're looking at common pedagogy, the kinds of instructional practices that benefit both K-12 students and also college students, and then a common learning management system. We think that this is one of the most critical things. One of the issues with transition, which makes it so difficult for students going from high school into college, is the huge changes, the huge differences between how they receive their instruction at the high school level and then at the college level. We think that if there's a common learning management system, and that's what happens with online learning, if there's a common one, and we won't have to reteach or teach something brand new for students going into the college level. So that design feature is really critical to us. So as you can see, this whole idea of having a common instructional design is critical to us. The integration of our professional staff, our teaching staff, is really critical, that they all know and understand each other and how it all works. Obvious differences are the age levels, the maturity level, all those sorts of things. But at the same time, if we have a really common understanding of how the K-12 level works and then how the university level works, regardless of what where you are as an instructor, we think that's the right way to go. So we're looking at collaboration, this idea of apprenticeship, having those real world and relevant experiences, connecting those to our academics, and really looking at the kind of skills that are going to be necessary for students to be successful in their career plans. We think that that's the most critical thing to happen. So that, in a nutshell, is really what e-Trilogy is about. What I'm going to do is to talk to you about some specifics about RVA, for example. We are a K-12 school. Our first charter was approved.
Ellen, let me just interject one
Sure.
thing before we move on too much more, and I want to just kind of put it in front of the students because we've been talking about this, is that we've been working in our own projects and a unit of our own projects, our own classes that we are teaching or plan to teach. Now, one of the reasons we're asking Ellen here, and she's going to, another learning point that I wish you to ponder, of course, is that how online learning, which is what the topic of the course is, how online learning is being used in this plan to further the education of students and how online learning is being directed towards that. So what you just saw there, and Ellen said, in a nutshell, well, there's a lot of going on in that nutshell. So she's going to talk about the different divisions now, and I just wanted you to kind of think about that, is how is online learning helping to bring all this together, because that's that transitional point that I asked you to ponder earlier. Thank you.
Yes, of course. So I'm glad you brought those ideas up, Steve, because I think what's really important is that oftentimes what happens with students who are more at risk is that there's a confinement issue, that they're confined to their zip code, they're confined to their neighborhood. Well, one of the things about online learning is it brings multiple perspectives in. So in California, our state is broken up into 58 counties. RVA is approved to operate in 8 of those counties, and they're a band across, you're familiar all with the San Francisco Bay Area, from there all the way almost to the border of Nevada. And so there's a band that goes across there. So as you can imagine, that we have rural, urban, suburban areas all throughout that region. And so what happens is that when you're an online learner at RVA, you get to interact with, make presentations with, debate even with students from multiple areas, and getting those kinds of perspectives broadens your experience, it broadens your understanding, it provides you with multiple opportunities that you would not normally get if you were at a brick and mortar type of a school. So for me, that's one of the biggest benefits of being an online learner in this particular learning environment. And we are authorized for 5 years for charter schools. Charter schools are free public schools. So many people think charter schools are private and that they cost, but they don't. They're publicly funded. And so the thing about charter schools is that it just provides lots of different opportunities. This really isn't a presentation about charter schools. I just want you to know that by having a charter school, it does provide us with a lot of opportunities to be able to expand. For example, of being able to have a virtual school that's across all of these different counties. Our enrollment, as I mentioned, does focus on students who are most at risk of dropping out. So, for example, English learners, California has 51% of its students in that area. So that it's a huge need. African American males, those are that 50% of those student population that does have a tendency to drop out. Of course, pregnant teens, low income students in foster care, special ed, and migrant students, all of those students are at the highest risk of dropping out of school. And so one of the things that we can talk about is that if you have that percentage of students dropping out of school, you can only imagine what the economic impact is on them as individuals, but the economic impact that has on a city, on a state, is pretty enormous. So if we can provide a learning environment that can bring students into a situation where they feel safe, where they feel confident, where they can as I've mentioned before, really integrate with others that have a support system that's going to support them in being able to be successful in their learning, then that's why we're doing what we're doing. The other areas that we are open to all K-12 students that live in those authorized counties, and RVA, our goal is to be operational in all 58 counties within 5 or 6 years. So that's our ultimate goal. I mentioned having an intensive focus on professional learning every Friday. One of the things that we'll be doing is recording all of our webinars. So part of what happens, part of our instructional design is students go to school, go to webinar style classes for 2 hours a day. They have 4 classes of about 30 minutes each that are taught by multiple teachers, or could be the same teacher. It depends upon the situation. But these students will be going to class where they can actually visually see each other, and they are able to see the teacher too, so that when they make their presentations, they're engaged and they're connected to a group of classmates and to another caring adult. Because one of the things that we know from students who have dropped out of school is that there are some primary reasons that we know. First of all, they did not feel connected to adults in the school. And so every one of our students will have 3 to 4 adults that they'll be connected with. The other area is that it didn't feel relevant. They didn't understand why they were there. Well, when you feel that way, there has to be some engagement strategies. So that's what we're targeting and focusing on. And so, and the other thing is that students who dropped out didn't feel that much was expected from them. And so what we're doing is creating an atmosphere where there is an accountability that's built in. And so, as I mentioned, it's a teamwork. It's the groups being able to work together for the single purpose of success for the students. We have a single track, and we're beginning that on September 2nd. So our students go to school 2 hours a day and in a synchronous learning environment, and then they have a few hours during the day that they have to do some independent work. They are also connected to their teacher. Teachers have daily contact with the students, critical and important that we know that happens. There are also teachers available throughout the day, so if a student needs the support in English language arts, for example, or in math, that they know they can go on and they can contact any of these other teachers. The other thing about our learning management system that's so critical and important is that we're able to manage how students are the number of minutes that, for example, that they're spending in their classes. We can see if they've completed any of their coursework and how far that's gone. And if a teacher's monitoring every day, so that teacher can notice that there are some issues going on, there's an immediate feedback, immediate analysis that goes on, and the student is contacted so that they can receive the kind of support that they need. So one of the issues with online learning and students who are more at risk, some people have a real concern about that because they think that there's a strong need for independence, but there's also, from my perspective, students who there's always a sliding scale of support needed. There are times that each one of us needs more support in a given field or a given area than in other areas. So so our goal is to really provide the kind of support that each one of those students needs in order to be successful. So the learning management system that we're selecting, and we are in the process of doing that right now, is really critical to be able to have all of these various components so that we can keep on track, and that really as administrators we can also see which students are having some difficulties or not. We're also using a system called On-Track EDU, and because of what we know about dropout indicators, that particular system, what it does is it gathers the attendance, the behavior, and course performance of students, and so we're able to quickly determine whether or not a student is off track in any of those given areas, because based on the research that we know about dropout indicators, the students having some issues in any one of those areas, they're at higher risk of dropping out of school. So as I mentioned before, we're using we're applying research in the most practical way and utilizing it for the assistance and support of our students. So our goal is to provide, like I said, instructional support, personalized learning to all of our students, particularly those who have additional life challenges, providing our students with synchronous and asynchronous opportunities that really target career and college planning and readiness skills. So we're looking at the soft skills, interview skills, for example, or how to go ahead and collaborate, or how to take different roles in a particular team situation, how to communicate effectively, all of those areas that really help us to be successful in whatever career it is that we choose. And then also to provide our teachers with that ongoing professional learning that really supports them as instructors, leaders, and mentors for their students. So our goal, just did that. Okay, so that's Renew Virtual Academy. And now we're going to move into Graduate Ready Centers. So our mission here is success for every student. We have 3 primary focus areas. We do provide districts with an innovative professional learning system that supports student success for optimum post-secondary options. So what we do is we provide webinars. As I said, but we're very focused on online learning, and we do that for adults as well. And so that kind of area, we have our webinars that are 6-hour webinars. They're very interactive. They're small groups, about 5 altogether, and that provides that opportunity for a lot of exchange. So we provide them with very strong foundation about dropout prevention, dropout indicators, the ABCs of dropout, attendance, behavior, course performance, and everything in between with transitions and career and college planning and skill readiness. We also focus on informing the public about the relationship among dropout, graduation, and social consequences. I mentioned that already about the economic impact that has on us, and then also to collaborate with education-oriented partnering groups. And we have a number of our partners that we're affiliated with. So our primary goals, as you can see, we do target the ABCs of dropout, 21st century learning skills. We focus on college and career readiness by providing them with a number of resources and opportunities. For example, Career Resource Network, Career and College Clubs, Freshman Transition, and different ways to focus on personal learning plans. One of the unique things that we know about for our RVA and FJR students is that we are making those connections between support so that when students do leave their high school experience, they don't feel like they're just dropped off. They continue on with that same level of support. It's reevaluated at that time to see what kinds of support systems are needed, and then they move into their FJR experience. So they may continue to need counseling, other kinds of social support services, and then of course we target internships and job placements. With our FJR online university, we are providing our students with 2-year certificate in liberal studies programs and dual enrollment options. So one of the areas that we're really targeting is that there was a recent study done with students of low SES, and these students had a stronger success rate at college if they started dual enrollment in high school. And so the idea that they are taking high school courses along with their college courses in order to be able to have a year or more of their college coursework completed by the time they graduated from high school, they had a stronger success rate at completing whatever goal that they had at their university if they had already completed some courses in high school. So one more time, practical use of research. So that's what we're going to be doing, providing that opportunity, which is one of the primary reasons of FJR to be able to provide dual enrollment. So we're looking primarily at liberal arts degrees and then also career technical education programs, STEAM or STEM. And most people know it as STEM, but put that A of art in there, it adds into STEAM. And then personal and professional enhancement, those kinds of courses as well. So just focusing again in completing, supporting students in completing their career and college goals through this system. So one more time, what's really important to us is having a common instructional design feature, common synchronous and asynchronous type courses that are based in projects, real-world applications. We have internships and business partnerships. That practical application of knowledge is really critical. And so the same kind of synchronous and asynchronous online courses is going to be available for our FJR students as it is for our RVA students. Now, the other thing that we find very unique, my colleagues around the country have mentioned this, is that what we're doing is providing our students, RVA students, with an adjustment to their tuition based on their academic performance. So all RVA students will have a tuition reduction based on their academic performance, which means then it's non-competitive, but what they're really doing is they're competing against themselves. Just how much are they willing to put in order to be able to be successful in their high school so that they can have a low tuition when they get to their FJR period of time. And then also our FJR students will have tuition reduction based on their continued academic performance. So one thing I do want to mention is that FJR is not exclusive to RVA students, but it definitely is a support system for RVA, no question about it. But FJR will be open to all students as well. So we have 3 primary goals, really, is to establish ourselves as a premier independent virtual online university dedicated with instructional experts to support our learners in their goals. To promote a culture where the focus of learning is on expansion and application of knowledge, diversity of thinking, and individual and collaborative endeavors. One of the things that we know that there's really there's some disparity between what happens at the college level and then what happens when students leave, and where's the practicality of being prepared for those careers. We know that businesses say that they don't believe that most students are prepared when they come to them, and they have to go ahead and quote-unquote retrain them in their ways. Well, we think in building those partnerships in businesses and having a practical application of being able to make apprenticeships, internships, so that that doesn't have to happen, that students are quite prepared as they move into whatever business or industry that they select, then we think that's a good thing. We also are focusing on providing our students with a support system to help them to finish their college plans and support them in encouraging and enhancing their skills and abilities. So the idea is so that's quite a bit. How are we going to accomplish that? Well, we think that the very first thing that we all do in every decision that we make is we put students in the middle of every decision. We think that if we do that, we always look at, well, what's the perspective? For example, when we're looking at our learning management system, we want to look at it through the lens or perspective of our students. The ease of access, are they going to be able to fully understand? How are we going to provide them with some learning on how to be a successful online learner? How do we go about doing that? It all has to do with the student and how the ease of everything that we do with them. And at the same time, ensuring that based on research, ensuring that we're holding students accountable and having a level of rigor so that they know that we believe and trust in their abilities, and they're going to be receiving the kinds of support systems in place should they need them. So this is one of the things that we've done. We build a team of professionals committed to student success. Every one of the professionals that are part of the team feel that way. Every one of them has experience and expertise in lots of different fields and areas, but central to who they are is this commitment to student success. We stay focused and committed to the vision, our mission and goals. We don't diverge into some other area. And trust me, when you have something like this, there's lots of ideas and opportunities that come up. And we've had to say no to some things, and we've kind of looked at other areas, and no, we've always come back right central to our vision, mission, and goals to ensure that that we maintain that. As I mentioned, by trusting in the practical application of research, and then by using our common instructional design to target our students' success. And then the other area that we look at is really we're partnering with like-minded organizations who put students in the middle of every decision. We believe in empowering students with leadership skills. We think that's critical. Who are service-oriented and who target students who would benefit from additional supports. So it's quite a tall order about how we're going through this and taking a look at each one of our students. We look at them as individuals, and we also look at them as a cohort of students going through what it is that this particular group of students needs, but we look at it as a very personalized, individualized education process. Because after all, when you take a look at these 12 to 16 years, it really sets students up for success for the rest of their lives. And we know that. And so, yeah, I guess probably in closing this, we're really taking a look at our students from a whole person perspective. We fully recognize that that each individual is an individual. Each student is an individual, and each one of them has their own challenges, but they also have their own unique identification, unique identity and personality. And it's our goal, our desire, to ensure that every one of our students is successful in whatever they select, they choose for their life. And whatever we can do to support that, that's our mission. So thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, Ellen, thank you very much. And as we close, I want to just challenge students to think about this. What if you had an opportunity to start a school from scratch using online tools? Thinking about how would you pull together curriculum? How would you pull together, make the right software choices? Which LMS out there? We've studied a few. Which learning management systems, tools you'd want, tutoring you'd want. How are you going to identify your community and connect to that community? It's all there. You know, building this curriculum. I've been involved with this directly for about a year and a little longer, knowing about this. Many conversations have to be undergone, not just the funding of it, but the pulling it together and in terms of identifying the students. And I can tell you also that there have been students around the country that have asked about it already. Just this one entity. So these are some of the challenges forward. If you were given an opportunity to start your own, how would you do it? So, Ellen, thank you very much. This has been wonderful, and I appreciate your time.
Well, I thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Holland. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
So we'll close now, and we'll get this all set up, and we'll see what kind of sparks discussions it does with our own students.
Wonderful. Thank you.